And the misunderstanding too, because there's some places you could be, and Nigeria is just, oh, it's a 419 country, fraudsters. That makes you a suspect outrightly first. Also, many people also understand the fact that Nigeria is a mixed bag. You have all the good, the bad, the ugly. It's the illiterates who determines our leaders. Because when election comes up, the educated will sit in their living room watching political analysis, election progress on TV, and it's market women, area boys, the artisans who are out there on the queue voting. In fact, most of the elites will travel before the election because they think something might go wrong. They're already out of the country. And then they let illiterates determine our leaders. If we all sit down and keep talking and talking without getting involved, we'll just be missing the whole point. And I realized that most of the problems the politicians have are actually those from people, the supposed poor people. You find that you go and campaign, it's simple. You've come to campaign to, they'll tell you are speaking too much grammar. Bring money, let us share. And by the time you give this money, and they see politics, election period as a harvest season. It's quite expensive running for an office in Nigeria, no matter how small the office is. 80% of our National Assembly members are semi-illiterates. They can't even read the papers in their hand. They can't read the bills. Some of them employ staff to read the bills and translate it to them. One of the problems we have in this country is the fact that there are no consequences to actions. If there are consequences, people will toe the line. Everybody will stay in line. But there are no consequences, so people do as they like.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of Lost Lagosians. I'm your host, Brodda Mike. I've got with me here a very, very exciting guest. He's someone that I really, really admire, and he's been a bit of a mentor and a very, very, very supportive role model for us here and for what we do here at Lost Lagosians. So without further ado, welcome, Mr. Austin. Thank you for your time, sir. How are you doing today?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing pretty fine.
Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself? Just a quick introduction.
My name is Austin. I'm Nigerian, of course. I'm a tourism development and hospitality consultant. I'm also an aviator. I'm a teacher and public speaker. Also, I'm a politician.
Thank you for that introduction. I've always wondered about aviation. I mean, just the amount of responsibility that a lot of pilots, it's just huge and enormous responsibility. So how do you cope with that and still be able to do all the other things that you do?
I've always been a multitasker. So basically, if you set anything, set your mind on, you could always achieve without any hindrance to the other. So I create time and day, and as long as my schedule is fine, I cope quite easy.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's always good to be a multitasker. I think that's a gift that not everybody has. Just a very few people do, and I'm glad that you're able to do all the things that you do. So in this show, we try to cater for those who are in diaspora, experiences of people abroad. Now I know that you also, you've been all over the world. So can you share a little bit about your diaspora experience in terms of how it's like? Right now you're in Nigeria, but if you are not in Nigeria, what kind of pride do you have as a Nigerian in other parts of the world?
When it depends on where I'm at. When I'm in any African country or Caribbean, it's a thing of pride when you're a Nigerian. You get that accolade, like that respect. Yeah, that respect, I think you just get a regard being in Nigeria. It's a different ball game when you are in some countries where you are not known, like maybe you're in the Pacific. But one thing is certain, they surely know Nigeria as a country with a great football team. That's what people really know, especially maybe in the Southeast Asia, in the Pacific. different regions see Nigerians differently. But one thing that's pretty easier is the fact that a Nigerian can generally cope with any circumstance in any region. So my experience, basically, it's a mixture of the good, the bad, and the misunderstanding too, because there's some places you could be, and Nigeria is just, oh, it's a 419 country, uh, fraudsters. So that makes you a suspect outrightly first, till you prove yourself. But also, many people also understand the fact that Nigeria is a mixed bag. You have all the good, the bad, the ugly. We have a reputation in every field: sports, fraud, hard work, academics, um, poetry, literature. We have a reputation in virtually of all walks of life, because people have come across different Nigerians, industrialists. They've come across the academias by virtue of either schooling with them, or they've encountered them in some seminars or something. That generally goes. So being a Nigerian is just it's a mixed bag.
Just changing gears here, in this podcast, we try to talk about, experience of those in diaspora. And I know a lot of people have been talking about, well, if everybody outside Nigeria comes to Nigeria, they can change Nigeria. So they always say, well, why don't you go back home and run for office? Why don't you go back home and make a change? Be the change you want to see in your community. So, but it's a privilege to have you on, Sarah, given that you've run for office. And I guess one of the first questions I have in my mind, or our audience is probably wondering, is what made you say you're going to run for office to begin with? Like, why would somebody just say, I want to run for office?
There's no reason why somebody cannot just wake up to say they want to run for office, but mine was quite different. I got tired of complaining, and first of all, I have this Facebook WhatsApp group that I am a member on, and so most times we're always sitting there arguing with debate Nigerian issues, policies, new things that's come up. And one of the members just looked and was like, we're all just going to keep sitting there complaining, and none of us is doing anything about it. We're in a democracy. There's no way into governance except through political parties.
Mm-hmm.
So there was another debate on that, and we're all like, so we can't just be armchair critics.
Mm-hmm.
We might as well have it there and see what we can do. That being done, we all decided we're all going to go join the political party. Then belong to this annual economic group, where we hold meetings monthly, and the same thing came up again when we're discussing. We have brilliant projects, fantastic ideas we want to implement, but because none of us was in government, and the government of the day was frustrating every effort, because most of us were not in the opposition party.
Mm-hmm.
The economic group, our president is Professor Patu Tommy, and it's just a group of 15 people.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, this is the second time this is coming up, and somebody again suggested, why don't we all get into office so we can actualize this?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of us started making pledges like, okay, that's true. And I felt I was pinched, like, this is the second time within a month this kind of thing is coming up, where it's saying, go do something rather than keep complaining. Mm-hmm. We all sit in the back and we talk and talk, criticize, but we're not doing anything about it. Mm-hmm. And it dawned on me that it's the illiterates who determines our leaders.
Mm.
Because when election comes up, the educated will sit in their living room watching political analysis, election progress on TV, and it's market women, area boys, the artisans who are out there on the queue voting.
Wow.
In fact, most of the elites will travel before the election because they think something might go wrong. They're already out of the country. And then they let illiterates determine our leaders. So I started with the advocacy of encouraging people to go out and vote. It was then, I had a glimpse of what political election could be about. And I thought I had the experience, I had the know-how now. So I went back to my hometown, my home state, and I signified my intention to run, which was well accepted, even though I was the greenhorn. But like I said, I've had the experience now coming in. I've been joined some political groups in Lagos. I've functioned pretty well. I got myself right in there so I dug myself in there. So I took that word and voila, luckily I won the primary and became the flag bearer of the party. Now the apathy is another ball game entirely, but the basic thing is that those of us who have been out there have seen things, cannot just keep complaining. We need to come in, find a way into office and implement those ideas. You have to join a political party first, because nobody's just going to give you an appointment to head a parastatal or an office when you are not a party member. There are party members who have the same qualification as you, who are toiling day and night and spending their money,
resources
for campaigns and elections. And then when the party wins, you now come from diaspora out of the blues because you have credentials and then you want to get appointment. It doesn't work that way. You've got to be part of the system. And that's what I'm encouraging most of the guys in diaspora. Even if you don't want to run for office, join a political party, support the movement, any party of your choice, so that when things happen, i.e. your party wins the high office, you are in a position to be considered. And then you can bring your experience, whatever it is you are doing, you can bring that experience into governance and help the country. So basically, that's the intake into that one as to why I went into politics. And I've just told you also why people in the diaspora should be interested in politics, especially now that even the diasporans cannot vote. You might as well just make yourself useful every now and then, come home or support the party with some fundings, let them recognize you. If it's just t-shirts you are donating to the party, or you helping pay for party secretariat, what the other, just be known so that when your name comes up for nomination into an office, nobody will raise an eyebrow, and you would have been deserving to get the recognition.
So without going into too much details, do you know why? I mean, I heard about that change they made recently where people in diaspora can't vote anymore. I mean, do you know what was driving that? Do you have any insights to that?
No, there's nothing to it. It's just something that is already imbued in the INEC constitution. And I think we didn't foresee the probability of diasporans wanting to vote, and it's something for the National Assembly people to go back to drawing board. I only have maybe imbued that in the constitution to allow diaspora votes. And the diasporas too have to really come up as a pressure group to get government to add that to the INEC constitution to allow diasporas to vote. It was just an unforeseen scenario, basically. But now the diasporas they really have to come out as a pressure group to speak so that this can be changed in the National Assembly and by the National Assembly. It's not just by making noise or ranting. Let's just go through the right procedures.
So aren't we speaking enough with our wallets? If I think during this time I read somewhere, during when this was official, actually, that diasporans contribute, they are number 2 in terms of contribution to the GDP, right behind the oil and gas sector. So you have the oil and gas, then you have the diasporans remittances. So if we have so much power, is that not like, I mean, why would they not let the diasporans vote?
You don't have that kind of power. See, that's what I'm talking about. If we all sit down and keep talking and talking without getting involved, we'll just be missing the whole point. When they are remitting money, repatriating money into Nigeria, they send it to any arm of government or to their families.
Families.
Exactly. So it's neither here nor there. It's just that when they're checking the inflow of money from diasporans, you understand? It tends to do something in the economy, but it's not helping governance in any way. So the basic thing is, if you want that to count, like I said, it has to come up as a pressure group. A pressure group has to be put in place who will come by representing those in diaspora, blah, blah, approach the National Assembly, come up with a bill that you want to submit. It's not about blowing grammar on TV or on radio, or just as we're talking now. It should just be rhetoric. You understand? That's one funny thing about people. They don't do the things the right way. People believe if you keep shouting, you get noticed. No, when there's a procedure on ground on how to approach a matter, going about making noise does not help. And like I said, I used to complain a lot about certain things and decide, well, there's nothing we can do. You might as well join and try and change things from within. If you're diasporans and you know where you stand, make the move and you start your progress, gradually, and do the right thing. Send in your bills. Let somebody defend it. Bring awareness to certain situations. So by the time you go on TV and you talk, you're just playing to the gallery. There are procedures for things, and that's what those in diaspora really ought to do.
No, thank you, sir. So the other question I had, for you was kind of like what your experience was running for office. Like,
the whole experience was quite exciting and informative. It was a new eye-opening for me, and I realized that most of the problems the politicians have are actually those from people, the supposed poor people. You understand? And you find that the people you are fighting for are not really something, for lack of any better word to say, they're not worth your effort. You find that you go and campaign, it's simple. You've come to campaign to, they'll tell you are speaking too much grammar. Bring money, let us share. And by the time you give this money.
So the people are demanding for money, you're saying?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
They demand, and then when you give them this money, before you leave that rally, you've already seen them fighting. Some have broken their heads, they've stabbed it.
Wow.
Where that does not even happen, by the time they share the money, it comes to about 200 naira to everybody. And this is the situation. They collect that, they'll take from every politician who have come to campaign, and they see politics, election period as a harvest season. So when you're talking about policies, things you're going to bring in, they don't understand you. At the end of the day, it's what one chief has said. Vote this way. That's where they are going. And there's this philosophy of whose food I eat, a song I sing. When they say stomach infrastructure, it's not really a joke. You understand? The
stomach infrastructure?
Many a time.
Stomach infrastructure? Huh? Is that what it is? Stomach infrastructure?
Yeah, stomach infrastructure.
What is that? I don't know what that is.
Okay, it was a slogan that came up during the election. When you'll be planning an election, you planning what you want to do, the infrastructures you're going to bring, should you win, and then people tell you, forget all that, we deal with our stomach infrastructure first. What they're going to eat first. And they don't mind eroding their own future and their children's whatever. For the 2,000 that they'll collect to vote, only to suffer another 4 years. And you would think the next 4 years they will have learned. Nothing's changed. So basically, what I've noticed that Nigerian politics has been so monetized, I doubt anybody can do anything about that now. Unless there's some strong advocacy against this, and INEC also just put it in their law again about for parties, what you're spending on, and what have you not. It's quite expensive running for an office in Nigeria, no matter how small the office is. We just had a local government election where a councillorship election. So somebody wants to run for councillor, is buying at 1.5 million naira for just the form, for the nomination form.
Wow, 1.5 million naira for the nomination form. That's a lot.
Yeah, and that's a start. That's just the start. Then you have to now go to your party and grease their table, letting them know you want to run for office and you need the support. And mind you, you're not the only one. Each one of you will want to outdo the other before the primary. And the primaries is it's a real election, not really the general election. The primary is actually the real election, because that's where you are nominated as a flag bearer of the party. Then you become general property of the party. But before then, it's an individual thing. You have to run around, campaign. Sometimes you have to set up offices in every constituency and put some staff there. They're agreeing this money. Now we have branding vehicles. You have to buy vehicles, buy motorcycles because of the terrain. So it's quite an experience. By the time I had a budget when I went in. I've blown that whole budget before even the primaries.
Wow.
I blew everything already. And I was like, damn, I'm going to go on this stadium. So we really have to dust it up and then start checking the piggy bank where we hit some monies. So, I've come this far already. But as well just get to Uhuru.
Yeah, so I've always thought that the politicians are the one who spend the money, who want to be lavish. But I think what this conversation is bringing to light is that it's the people who are demanding money from the politicians and not the other way around.
Yeah, politicians are just responding to the system. You understand? You can't run an office. Anybody you visit, you're expected to drop something. They call it a shagwai in Delta. You're expected, for everybody you visit, you're expected to come with an envelope, some drinks. You're not meeting up with those things. You're leaving people dissatisfied. They start gossiping about you. They start grumbling. Oh, I don't think this man is ready to run for office. He came empty and then he didn't give us this. He only gave us that. He only gave us this. So that you're not pushed back. You respond to the system. You respond to the yearning. So every now and then you're visiting, you have to prepare yourself cash-wise.
What if you are the transformational candidate that is meant to change the course of Nigeria, but you don't have money?
You can't. Then you're not ready. There's no such thing as transformational candidate. You can only transform when you're in there already. Because what it means that you're not running.
But how do you get in there? How do you get in there if you have to, every Oba or every chief you go and see?
You have to play the ball. You have to play ball, give what it takes to get to what you want. That's just it, because you're not the only one running for office. There are other people like you. Each person is campaigning according to the laid down system. You can get railroaded easily. So for you to want to transform anything, you first have to conform to the system, give it what it takes. And when you now get into office, you can now use that experience to say you want to readdress issues, and the transformational thing can start. But you can never do that from the outside. From outside, you can't do it prior. Otherwise, you'll be shooting yourself in the foot.
So in order to make changes, let's say corruption, for example, because this, I don't want to say the system, I'm not going to say the system is corrupt, because even here in the West or in most of the Western countries, politics and money, is always an issue. But the difference between what we have in the West is that you have PACs, political action committees. So you donate to the PACs, and, the Supreme Court here in the US came out a couple of years ago, and they said corporations are people. In other words, corporations can give money just like you, the citizen. And also there's no cap, or they're not supposed to disclose in certain regard the amount they get. So the sky is the limit, who can outraise. So there's a parallel effect. I think there's a similarity between that and what's going on in Nigeria to a degree, because there's no limits. There's, it used to be back in the day, I think before John McCain and Obama, the first time Obama went around against John McCain. It used to be that there's a limit on how much people can donate, I think. But then the Supreme Court came and said, oh, there's no limit. So in a way, I think there's a parallel to that in Nigeria. But the difference between the one in Nigeria is that you are spending money, but there's no data, there's no tracking, nobody knows who's getting what, nobody knows who's spending what. It's just like this dogfight, the way you describe it. So that's a fundamental problem. So as a politician, how will you try to change that? Because that's going to weed the really, really good transformational candidates out of the play for office.
You know, it's quite diverse what you're saying. You see, the West have been through what we are going through now. And it's from experience they enacted a law to ban corporations from sponsoring, supporting parties, candidates or something. Because again, it's subject to abuse. Like they say, he who pays the piper dictates the tune.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they avoid.
Mm-hmm.
And hence they have institutionalized the political system in America or anywhere in the West. We, on the other hand, do not have those checks and balances. We don't have the mechanism for those checks and balances.
In 2021?
Yes. 2020, we don't even have a constant electricity, and you're wondering. So whatever gadget you want to use is still going to be dependent on this electricity system, a monetary system. The people need to first be educated. There must be an awareness campaign, but only transformational government can do. Right now, because the lack of that mechanism leaves room, makes the political system porous and gives it a winner takes all kind of attitude and survival of the fittest. So there's even no protection for the candidates, in terms of the spending, there's nothing. So when they get to office, they have to play ball to their sponsors and everything.
Unfortunately.
But again, you cannot change it from any angle. The system has to be changed from the top. And for the top to work, the top has to work in tandem with the National Assembly to enact laws. But the funny thing is that our own National Assembly members are products of this
system.
That they will not, because 80% of our National Assembly members are semi-literate. Because for you to be some of them cannot even speak English. Some of them can't even read the papers in their hand. They can't read the bills. Some of them employ staff to read the bills and translate it to them.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them don't have original arguments over anything. They just go to the National Assembly, collect money, and just there. I concur, I support.
Mm-hmm.
Nay, yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Until we start having the right people, educated and exposed people to go to National Assembly. But these people, this crop of current senators and the rest will not let that happen. Some of them are there on their 5th term. Some of them are on their 4th term. They've never done anything because the Nigerian system allows that for you to run for Senate or governorship, all you need is a school cert. So that makes it easy. So by the time you are brandishing your credentials, I have degree, this, I have masters in that. But the bunch of illiterates are the one dictating our life. That's one of the reasons I was going to politics. This is how we're going to keep sitting there and let these people do this to us, especially politicians from the northern and the eastern axis. It's just money misroad men who have money, no education, but they just have money. And then because they are the ones that can afford election campaign, so they are the ones you find out there. So why would they fight what gives them breath?
So which one came first? Is it the chicken or the egg? I just see this as a chicken egg situation. Like, is it the people that are electing the bad politicians, or the politicians that are paying their way to make sure that the people keep electing them? So it's kind of a vicious circle.
And neither here nor there. Every scenario, different aspects, different scenarios will present to you a different challenge. One of the first things is, what if we have a law that says for you to contest for this position, this must be your minimum, whatever. But then again, it will be like you're infringing on human rights of free association, freedom to choose what you want to be. If you've chosen you want to be a politician, you can't hinder me by university degrees and everything. And sometimes too, having degrees does not guarantee that you have the brain to function. You have a social whatever about things. You have to know how people feel, So it's just for those in governance, those who are tired of the system to start. But I think a national sensitization effort will work, because sometimes you are saying you don't know if it's the politicians or if it's the electorate. Sometimes electorates are faced with the devil and the deep blue sea. The only candidates they have are the illiterates who have already won the primaries. So they have no choice. They vote for party. So the candidate of the party might not really be a choice. But I'm a party man. I vote for and every vote for the counts for the candidate. So you could be a Messiah or you're a farmer, but you have the money. You're a successful farmer. You can run for office and then you outspend the other guys. You become the candidate of the party. We have no choice. We'll vote. We'll vote. So again, sometimes too, on the other flip, you find that some electors don't have a choice. The party has forced them to accept a candidate.
Right.
The party came and decided this is the person we want, and then he's the flag bearer of the party. He might not be most qualified, but he's one the party leaders have chosen. So you have to vote. So those are the two flips, to the whole scenario. Like I said, it is still a national orientation issue. Sensitize people, then create consequences. One of the problems we have in this country is the fact that there are no consequences to actions. If there are consequences, people will toe the line. Everybody will stay in line. But there are no consequences, so people do as they like. So that also in itself is another issue. So I think that's by and large, that's just where the whole thing is. If you're lucky to find a transformational candidate who occupies the high office, or somebody who got there and suddenly have a rethink to become transformational, then all well and good.
So we're leaving the hope of Nigeria to chance is kind of what I'm hearing.
Yes, as it is, yes. Until we find that person who has the will to want to do the right thing. Well, most of the problem, the challenge is the fact that everybody gets into office, they're already dreaming of second term. And they don't want to rock the boat, so the second term chance will stand. And I think that's actually the albatross for many politicians. If we can find one that will damn the consequences, damn second time and anything, this 4 years is enough for me to do everything I want to do. So second time is always the booby trap for most of these politicians. So they behave so that they don't rock the boat. The party chieftains will still be able to endorse them for second term. So they toe the line, and by the time they get to second term, they're already thinking about who's going to be their successor. So you're distracted. You don't get the job done.
So what is the role of election rigging or racketeering? Like, basically, I know we've been talking about kind of the electorate and the politicians, but I mean, the system itself, like the third party or the third leg of that triangle is the, INEC. I mean, there's been a lot of rumors or, allegedly that there's been rigging, every election cycle, there's always rigging. So how does is that something that we also need to consider to look at as well? And how can that be curtailed or curbed?
That's what I said earlier. I'm a beneficiary of that rigging system. We sat down. Elections did not take place in many of the polling units. So we were like, okay, there's going to be a rerun. All of a sudden on Tuesday, we announced the results. Results from where people went on the streets. I still had to go out there to calm them down. They used party might and government power. So when I mentioned earlier too that there has to be consequences, it has to start INEC office. The INEC, then, because this rigging is done by human beings. It's not spirits. Then, you see, when you catch somebody who's selling a stolen property, both the person selling and the buyer should be culprits.
True, yeah.
The consequences for people who offer bribes to INEC officials to do their bidding. Also, there must be consequences on the INEC official who take such bribe, because they are circumventing the collective will of the people. It's a serious human right fundamental human rights
violation.
Thank you. So when there are laws on ground that picks both the offerer and the receiver,
yeah,
then we'll start systemizing our thing to work. Politicians should be monitored. At that point, there should be a monitoring unit that monitors who offered what, and it should be reported. And that candidate should be disqualified, and the next in line should run for the office for the post.
The runner up. But the judicial arm or the police, if you would, is controlled by politicians too.
No, The judiciary is a third arm of government. That doesn't have anything to do with whatever.
I meant the police department. I mean, the police force. Isn't that controlled by politicians?
No, well, in a way, yes.
So the enforcer is controlled by the same politicians. So there's a conflict of interest.
You see, when you have a special unit and when you institutionalize a system, you understand that police officers should not look at the face, you look at the law. I mean, where you are there, a policeman can arrest politician easily if he's going to get, even though the politicians control the police, they determine the salaries and everything of the police. But police still do their jobs. Again, I said national orientation. Special unit train police that look, the law is the law, irrespective of who you are. But the Nigerian law system looks at faces and then becomes selective. No policeman wants to go, foul with a politician because of, it might backfire, this guy might deal with me later. If you take out that fear for the policeman, they will do their job. If they are paid where they are not easily enticed, they will do their job. So basically, again, like I've said earlier, the orientation, somebody must be willing to do something. There's nothing wrong in setting up a special task force to help handle certain things. And then if the task force is not corrupt, we'll get things done. Everybody will sit up. Because you have a couple of scapegoats, people who have been disqualified last minute in the election process, and then the runner-up, replaces them. You do that and you stand by it. Then certain politicians will be disqualified totally from ever running for office. When we start doing all this, people will sit up. And then even the electorate will be more confident because some people just go like, well, do we have a choice? Even if you don't vote, they will rig it. That mindset has to really be eradicated from people's heads. That mindset really has to be changed. And it's not from outside, it's from within. You can change it.
If someone is, like in diaspora, for example, and they're thinking about coming back, maybe to run for office, I mean, what would you say to them?
I'll tell them to first learn their ropes. Like I've said, when you're in diaspora, join a party, support virtually, let your name be known. You might even donate the chairs at the party secretariat with, with your name inscribed on them. So that starts sounding first. You don't just come from diaspora and then suddenly want to run for office. I did my homework. I've joined the party back and forth. Every time I come to Nigeria, I tend to attend meetings. I could sponsor the drinks for the day, just so nobody sees me as a greenhorn when the time comes. So we're doing that gradually. There are some rallies. I make sure my trip to Nigeria coincides with that function. So, like recently, they had the different electoral processes to the party, different congresses. And I made sure I attended the one from my ward, from my local government. I made sure I was there. I gave the support. There was a meeting in my house a day before the election for all the party faithfuls. We know who's going for chairman, who's going for woman leader, So I can't come out tomorrow to contest the election and the people are wondering where did you come from. So the thing is, don't just say because you have money. You just waste that money, which a lot of aspirants have experienced. They will try, and then you're going to go back with your tail between your legs. So the thing is, get involved gradually. While you're in diaspora, identify with your ward. Identify with some of the leaders of the party who will be informing you of what's happening, what's next. So you will know which area of support you can come in. Identify your area of support, what you want to be doing for the party. And every now and then, our members, so who's in so country, give this, is an active, whatever, it's a supporter of the party. Those are the little informations they'll be passing. And then get the buy-in of the leaders of your party, the escorts of your party, them know your intention. They will guide you as to how to come into the system. They will guide you as who you should go and meet, who you should see, who you need to talk to, who you need to appeal to. You don't just come in because you have money and then you just come to the party where I'm running for this office. They'll keep you quite like, oh, nice. Because every party thrives from having multiple candidates for an office. That's how party grows. Each one of you will collect from the monies to the party. Each one of you will have to do certain things around, spend it to the advantage of the party. Party is benefiting. So the more the candidates, the better. So nobody's going to tell you not to run. They'll tell you, welcome, go into the field, but then they're more likely to have wasted your time.
For those who want to come back, but they're thinking maybe the state of Nigeria and the state of affairs in the country. How would you kind of respond to that, given that you yourself have been to Nigeria and you're, currently in Nigeria right now? How are things, and how should people be worried for their safety and security when they come back, or if they decide on relocating back?
No, I think those people are just being myopic. I mean, this is a country where you grew up before you left. I'm here right now. I don't listen to all that hogwash. If everybody keep running, who's going to fix Nigeria? It's just like those in the city. You say, I don't go to the village. But meanwhile, they grew up in the village before they came to the city. All of a sudden, there's witchcraft in the city, in the village, there's what have you. It's just pretty silly. You cannot shape somebody's head behind his back. If you want to get involved, you cannot do it from diaspora and then be justifying your being outside. Then leave the fight for people. Waiting for Nigeria to be good so you can come back. Who's going to fix it? You have the opportunity to have seen beyond Nigeria by being in the diaspora. You've seen things. You've seen how things are done. You now bring that wealth of experience back home and see if you can inculcate it into our system. Rather than just sitting far and waiting for it to be good. Good by whom? Who's going to do it? So you might as well stay perpetually diaspora.
And forget about it.
So no interest. If you're interested, get involved. Roll up your sleeves. Get involved. Those people you are hoping to fix it, so you can now come when it's all good. Do they use their head to break coconuts? So it's a general thing. Whatever you could do, either you bring the industries in, bring business into the country, set up business companies that will employ people, bring it. Any way or the other, just get involved. We all don't have to be government. Somebody has to do something. Come and buy up a company and then, develop it properly. If you have a company that you employ 300 staff, you're doing a lot for the country.
More than any politician. Yeah.
Exactly. So let's just leave all those stories about what have you done. It's the lazy ones who are not ready, to come home, and they will prefer Nigeria be the way it is so they can keep justifying why they're outside. So that's the long and short.
No, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. And that does it for us on this episode of Lost Lagosians. Thanks for tuning in. Please share, subscribe, comment, review. You can always reach us at Lost Lagosians on Twitter. And if you have any questions, if you'd like to be part of this episode or the upcoming episode, rather, send an email to lostlagosians@gmail.com. Thanks so much. And until next time, we'll talk to you later. See you later. Bye now.